All right, man. Peace. You know, brothers, one of my favorite throwback fights to watch is a Marvin Hagler bout against a fighter by the name of John the Beast Mugabe, who at the time was known for being an unbelievable knockout artist. I think that he'd had something like 25 or 26 bouts, and he may have gotten a knockout in every fight up until his chance at Marvin Hagler. If he did not knock out all of his opponents, it was like 25 out of 26, something like that. And he ended up getting into the ring with Marvin Hagler, and they had an absolute war. Like, the fight that they had was even greater, in my view, than the Tommy Hearns fight that Marvin Hagler had. Now, it was not as exciting because it did not reach the pinnacle of one-on-one carnal combat like Marvin Hagler had with Tommy Hearns. But it was almost like a chess match mixed in with Russian roulette, because these guys were exchanging with hard blows that you could tell both fighters were feeling it, but because of their conditioning, their heart, and their chins, they were able to fight through it. And of course, that's Marvin Hagler in a nutshell. Once you agree to fight Marvin Hagler within exchange range, you're going to lose, period. Because he's more focused than you, he's stronger than you, he's tougher than you, and he has more stamina than you, period. And probably more power than you. The cat, I think, ended his career at like 62-2 or 62-3 and has something like 55 or 56 knockouts. Like some crazy knockout number Marvin Hagler had. Either way, that's one of my favorite fights to watch because of the effort that John the Beast Mugabe put into winning that fight and the reputation that he had coming into that fight. I bring all this up because there's a young fighter on the come up straight out of Brooklyn by the name of Edg Berl, who currently has a 1-round knockout streak that I think is up to something like 15 fights, where he's knocked out his opponent not just in the fight but in the first round. Now, I've watched him fight. He looks very sloppy. Very sloppy. He has issues with his balance and his coordination, but obviously his punching power is devastating. But once again, it's against opposition that's not that good. I want to see how he looks against upper crust, upper level competition in the 168-pound division. And that division right now has a lot of great fighters either in it or about to be in it. Because you have guys like Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade, you have Jamal Charlo. A lot of these guys are either fighting at 168 already or about to be. Daniel Jacobs, so on and so forth. So eventually Edg Berl he's going to receive his trial by fire. And we'll see if he's able to survive as long as John the Beast Mugabe was able to survive with Marvin Hagler. Now, we're going to see over the course of this interview that, this generation's or this era's Marvin Hagler, quote unquote, at least the person in that role, is Canelo Alvarez. And Edgar's going to put into the atmosphere that that's the super fight that he wants. So we'll see what happens. Of course, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
What if I told you there was a fighter who's 15-0 with 15 first-round knockouts?
I would say, let me check his record. Let me see the opponents that he's faced.
They're not all setups. It's not all. The opponents are getting a little better, but they can't get out of the first round with this guy. My next guest, he just weighed in. You're going to watch him fight tomorrow night on ESPN. The hottest.
God damn. This motherfucker is shining. Shit.
Punching prospect in boxing, Edg Berl. Edgar, welcome back to the show. Nice to have you on. How are you feeling?
Feeling great.
He gave one of them Kevin Durant answers. When Kevin Durant got interviewed by Barkley and them, Charles Barkley said, "So, KD, how's everything going with your comeback?" KD like, "Great." Motherfucker, this dude, he didn't give no other answers, no more words than that.
Awesome, we just got done with the weigh-in. Yeah, you can talk.
Yeah, usually fighters are a little cranky before the weigh-in, but they get a little better after. You had something to eat and drink. How are you making the weight? Are you still making the weight comfortably?
Yeah, we was fighting at 160, and we moved up to super middleweight. I'm making the weight perfectly fine. We just got off the way. I didn't really eat nothing right now, but I just started getting my drinks in. After this interview with you, then we're gonna get in with the eating.
You're fighting Ulysses Sierra, and I just mentioned your opponents are getting better and better. They're still not world beaters, but Sierra was good enough as an undefeated prospect to fight on Showbox against Vladimir Shishkin and gave Shishkin a good fight early, but eventually was outclassed a little bit technically over time.
Now, for those of you cats who were able to see this bout between Edgar Berlanga and Ulysses Sierra, Sierra was desperately trying to make it out of the first round. Like, he really was trying to get out of the first round, but it's very obvious that the power that this cat has is just too much. So the only question is going to be, does he have any other tricks in his bag once he gets into the ring with opposition that knows how to nullify his power? Because he has explosive thudding power, but he's not fast, and his technique is not that good. So once he gets in there with someone who knows how to nullify his power, what does he do then?
He lost the decision. Still, he went the distance with another undefeated prospect and was good enough to be one of the undefeated prospects on Showbox. Every time you step in the ring, your not only your knockout streak, but your first round knockout streak is on the line. And a lot of the interest in you is, in fact, to see, can he knock another guy out in the first round? Here's your last fight of the year against maybe the best guy you've been in with so far. Are you looking to keep that first round knockout streak alive?
I mean, if he could survive the first round, we're gonna see tomorrow night. You know, like I always do, Max. I train for 12. You know, I know we're looking at the bigger picture. We're looking at the bigger dogs, which is, you know, Canelo Alvarez, you know, David Benavidez.
Now this cat right here, the brother that he's beating the shit out of, he's out of the Mayweather gym. A lot of these guys, like, they just need to hang it up. Dudes be out there 38, 40, 42 years old, 44 years old. There's nothing wrong with boxing at that age if you have a high skill set like a Bernard Hopkins or somebody like that. But, I mean, if you were an average fighter at 22 years old, you're going to be less than average at 44.
These type of guys that we want to fight in the future. So I'm preparing myself for 12 rounds no matter what, regardless of the other fact that I'm knocking everybody on the first round. You know, Saturday night is going to be an amazing night tomorrow, and, you know, I'm ready for it.
Yeah, look at the brother's face, man. The brother looked like Martin when he fought Tommy Hearns. Like, I'll take a bowl of sunflower seeds.
Andre Rozier, who everyone in New York knows as an excellent trainer out of the area, trains a lot of the top fighters through the years, including Daniel Jacobs, has COVID right now. Best wishes to him, of course. How are you prepared to fight tomorrow night without your guy in the corner?
Damn, he got that brother doing a stop, drop, and roll.
You know, I was pretty shocked because, you know, we got tested on Monday right before heading out here, you know, and everybody was negative. So for him to come out positive, you know, was a little strange to us, to my team, to my father. But, you know, we worked very hard. You know, we did an 8-week camp. I just finished fighting October 17th. So, you know, it was a lot of things that we worked on for this camp, man. And I'm 100% ready for it. You know, I spoke with my father, you know, Edg Berl Sr., spoke with Uncle Dre, man. And, we're going to make it happen. We got Coach K in the corner with me, you know, tomorrow night. You know, and there's chemistry there with me and him, you know. So him and Dre's going to be working everything out on what's the game plan for tomorrow night.
Your Uncle Dre, that's how fighters feel about Andre Rozier, like it's family. And best wishes to him once again, speedy recovery. Edgar, you've mentioned recently, fighters don't want to fight you. They want more money to fight you now. And you mentioned you're going to bring a couple guys in. It was up.
Of course. Guys want to get paid handsomely to take that ass whooping. Who the fuck want to get a concussion for free?
To me, did you mean that opponents want too much money to fight you? Or do you mean you can't find sparring partners to give you work?
No, you know, right now is opponents. You know, and now we at the brink of, listen, like, we have to pay for opponents now. You know.
Welcome to the real world, bro.
A lot of guys is not going to be stepping in there, you know, for sparring with me, getting pounded on for rounds. You know, they're going to want to get paid. So, you know, for this camp that's coming out, you know, we...
Great body shot. That body shot made that motherfucker... He look at the referee. Time out. I got to go take a shit.
You know, we're going to get through this fight, you know, with a big victory. And then I'm back in March. So, you know, we're going to have an amazing camp. And we're looking to fly a couple fighters out, man. Probably 3 fighters out. Pay them for the whole camp to get that work in.
Edgar, when I think of...
See, a guy like him, who is so confident in his power, he can get caught in between punches in the exchange range against someone who's very skilled.
A couple fighters come to mind. First of all, of Puerto Rican descent, of course, people think immediately the latest one was Miguel Cotto, the latest great Puerto Rican fighter, but the guy who really captured the imagination of the island and the boxing world was Tito Trinidad, Felix Trinidad. And
the thing with Tito was that he had devastating punching power in both hands, but he was also very fast. But on top of that, strangely enough, his balance was always it looked like he was always awkward with his balance. On his feet, he always looked like he was not quite sure where to place his feet. But his power was incredible. I mean, we all know the rumors about him loading his gloves, at least those of us who follow boxing. Do I believe it? I'll just say it wouldn't shock me.
Think about Mike Tyson, a guy who also out of New York who had a knockout streak, and people started to fear. They didn't want to get in with him, and fans were on the edge of their seat. Is he going to knock the guy out? Usually in the first round. When I mention those names, Cotto,
Mike Tyson, monarch athlete, scripted life. I'll probably be dealing with that down the line on the main channel. Cus D'Amato was his handler, his quote-unquote enlightener. And not just his handler, his programmer as well, or one of his programmers.
Mike Tyson, who do you think of? Who do you feel connected to? Whose footsteps you'd like to follow in?
Felix Trinidad. That's my idol. I was with him about a month ago. We was in Puerto Rico. I was with him. We had an amazing time.
You could outbox Felix, though. De La Hoya was outboxing him. De La Hoya just did not have the guts to keep doing what he was doing the first 7-8 rounds for the remaining 4. And of course, he put himself on a chopping block to lose the fight, lose the decision. But you could outbox Felix.
I was in his town with his family, and I brought my family, my girl. I brought my father.
That fight between Tito and Mayorga is one of the funniest fights ever, man. Like the first couple of rounds, Mayorga was on that tough guy shit where he was letting Felix hit him in the head. That shit was hilarious, man.
And just, man, we had an amazing time, man, and I felt like, and he knew, he passed the torch.
I think that was his fight against Joppy. I recognize Joppy's afro. He beat the shit out of Joppy, man. Never to be seen again, William Joppy.
He said, him growing up, at 23 years old, how he sees me, he seen himself when he was coming up. He got very emotional, and he told me that he's gonna be behind me 100%.
It's so interesting that most of the Puerto Rican fighters that rise up, especially from the island, tend to be Aboriginal and not Spaniard. Isn't that interesting? Whether it be Trinidad or Cotto or whoever.
And when, the fans could get involved and the fans could attend fights, that he's going to be there every fight.
The crazy thing about Tito is he was knocking guys out early in fights, and then when he got his title shot against Maurice Block.
Tito's fight against Fernando Vargas was one of the better fights of the 2000s. Great, great, great fight.
Who was a very good fighter. He destroyed Blocker in the...
And to be honest with you, Tito sent Fernando Vargas' career on a path that, that he was never really able to recover from. Fernando Vargas was never the same fighter after that. He got beat down so bad in that fight, but he also showed impeccable boxing skills.
Round, I want to say it was just like he destroyed everyone else, as though the step up to world-class fighter and champion was nothing. They still had no resistance for him. Eventually, we're going to see you there, too, against a top fighter and see if you can continue to do what you're doing against this level fighter. But when you get there, who is your dream fight? Who would you like to win the championship against?
We looking forward to getting a huge fight with Canelo Alvarez.
Let me say this. Because this cat right now is about 4 or 5 levels below Canelo. Honestly. Just as an overall fighter. The only thing that Canelo's really missing is feet. Canelo has terrible feet. His footwork is almost non-existent. He knows how to stalk and walk people down. That's why he has to be matched properly. The guys who give Canelo trouble, the guys who are going to beat a Canelo, fighters like Lara or Mayweather are fighters who have impeccable feet. That's why it's going to be very difficult for Andrade to ever get the fight against Canelo. Because Andrade is pretty much all around the board a great fighter, including his feet. So you're always going to see Canelo get matched against other fighters who have a big name but don't have good feet. because they know that Canelo will be able to track the guy down, and he has better overall boxing skills from the waist up. Canelo's problem is from the waist down. But just to get back to the point, Berlanga does not have good enough feet to get into the ring with Canelo right now, because he can try that powerful power shit. Canelo's evasiveness and his upper body movement will make him very difficult to hit early, and the shit that Canelo's going to throw back is going to be every bit as hard as the shit that Berlanga's throwing at Canelo. And I would give Canelo a way higher chance of hitting Berlanga with something hard and vicious than I would give Berlanga a chance of hitting Canelo with something hard and vicious. But we'll see.
He's the big money guy right now. But in 2 years, I'm going to be the big money guy.
We'll see. What you're saying is that you're going to get the fight against Canelo within 2 years. We'll see. But it's good to have belief in yourself.
To be the highest paid athlete in the world. And that's what we shoot for. You know, my team, my manager, Keith Conley,
You can want to be the highest paid athlete in the world. But are the guys on your team who will be handling the money, are they going to be honest? Do they already have their own money? Are they honest brokers like an Al Heyman? Or are they going to be sharks who are going to want to take all your money and leave you with nothing but taxes to pay?
Edg Berl Sr., you know, Uncle Drake, my coach, man, we aim to be the highest paid athlete in the world.
See, cats like this have to be very careful, because his pops and his trainer, they'll gas his head up. Yeah, son, you got 15 knockouts and 15 fights. You're going to be the biggest thing in the world. You're going to be like Mayweather and make the most money. But those are going to be the same guys that are going to be crying on your shoulder when it's found out that your financial advisor, your financial manager, took your funds and made his own private investments with it, and there's nothing that you could do about it, and you have to still keep fighting at 43 years old because you're broke. Like, cheerleaders are cool as long as they know their place. You're going to cheerlead about the topic at hand. Don't start cheerleading about shit that you know nothing about, like finances. And so many of these fighters, they get caught up in you know, the grandeur of being the best in the world or having the most notoriety, and they don't have the right people on their team.
And that's what we're going for, man. And we're looking for a big fight with Canelo Alvarez, and that is going to be Mexico versus Puerto Rico, you know, at 168.
I need to see Canelo against Jamal Charlo if Jamal Charlo ever stops being afraid. I need to see Canelo against Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade. That's what I need to see before, you know, Berlanga even gets his face into the picture. Berlanga might end up fighting someone like a David Benavidez for the right to even fight a Canelo. You know, I would love to see a 168-pound tournament similar to what we had a few years ago with Andre Ward. That's where Andre Ward really gained a level of prominence when he won that tournament. I would love to see a tournament like that with Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade, with Canelo, even though Canelo would probably not agree to it because he would consider himself too big to enter into a tournament like that. But, you know, guys like that, Berlanga, Jamal Charlo, so on and so forth, Danny Jacobs, and see who comes out of it.
Let me just get this straight. When I said that's your dream fight, you're talking about in 2 years. Do you mean the first time you fight for a title? So many belts in boxing nowadays. Usually before you get to that fight, you pick up a belt or two against a lesser guy. You'd like it, ideally, in your dream, to be against Canelo?
Of course. You know, I feel like right now, you know, we're going to get through this fight Saturday night. Next year, we're going to get a couple step-up fights. You know, we're going to destroy a lot of people that people think I can't, you know, destroy. And, you know, we're going to call out the top dog. But with that being...
Canelo ain't going to fight you unless you beat some of the quality fighters that he's already beaten. Like Danny Jacobs. He might tell you, look, you got to go fight Callum Smith and knock him out within 7 rounds for me to even consider you. Shit like that you're going to have to do. You ain't just going to fight a couple of quote-unquote step-up fights and then fight Canelo. It don't work like that.
I want to make sure I got my throne. You know what I'm saying? I don't need nobody to sell out the MSG or to sell out a fight card because of another fighter. You get what I'm saying? I'm gonna be that fighter that I could sell out any arena, and that's gonna happen. You know, I just gotta continue to win, keep building my brand, and keep building myself up, and take it and testing myself until I get to that level.
Well, hopefully with responsible leadership at the top levels of government and a vaccine on the way.
Bet money Max Kellerman will not even be taking a damn vaccine. Always on TV talking about a vaccine. You know, it's so funny to me. These liberals now, you know, they love talking about we're going to follow the science. But I see super liberal Democrats talking about vaccines more than the actual scientists are. Most of the doctors and the scientists are saying, well, the vaccine may be effective, but, you know, normally the turnaround for an effective vaccine is, 3 to 4 years. This vaccine supposedly was made in a few months. But the liberals are all on TV trying to promote vaccination of people. That should go to show, brothers who are paying attention, that the so-called Democratic Party is filled with people who want to be able to tell you what to do. They basically want to make you, their little mind control slave. You're not going to have the right to your own independent thought as this world starts to spiral towards, its judgment.
Too long, we'll all be at Madison Square Garden watching
Yes.
Edgar Berlanga in a big
June.
fight.
June,
Look
Max,
forward to
June,
it.
June,
And
June,
tomorrow-
June is the big fight.
I need to see Max Kellerman on camera taking that damn vaccine.
June coming up this June or next June?
This June, we're going to be headlining at the MSG. God willing, the vaccines and everything, comes out. It's going to be a big night in Puerto Rican Day weekend in New York.
Always looking for the next Puerto Rican superstar. Many people hoping it's going to be you. And tomorrow night, anyone watching this and is going to watch on ESPN when Edgar Berlanga gets in the ring, don't blink. Thank you, Edgar. Max.
Thank you, Max.
But anyway, that's basically it on that. We'll see how things go for Mr. Edgar Berlanga. So peace.